So nothing's happening with foot. No, just kidding, Wayne. A lot's going on. Our boy Deebo, one of the most fan favorites for the 49ers. Somebody who's invented the new way the team comes out of the locker room. Somebody who's gone on and last season put the team on his back, went out, had more yards than some of the most elite pass receiving receivers last season, went out, scored more rushing touchdowns than some of the most elite running backs last season. All of a sudden, Devontae gets paid, Tyreek gets paid, and we're like, all right, well, Deebo's about to get paid too because he's in the fourth year of his 4-year contract and he's up for an extension. We think everything's gravy, right? Lynch is saying Deebo's going to get extended. Everybody's over here saying like things are going to happen. We're cool. Okay, nothing to worry about. All of a sudden today, Deebo unfollows 49ers on his Instagram. For some reason, we got 49er detectives all over socials. They figured that out real quick, right?
Real quick.
And everybody's like, don't worry about it. It's all good. Like, whatever. It's just like, it doesn't mean anything. And then, boom, explosion. Everything 49er related on the Insta, gone. And then, Wayne, you hit me with an article. Talk to me about what you just read minutes ago.
So, man, per the source, Clarence Hill Jr., he talked to Deebo Samuel. Deebo says that he wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL because of what he brings to the team. I'm talking about his running ability. I'm talking about his pass catching ability. I'm talking about his ability to be able to throw touchdowns. I'm talking about his ability to be able to return kickoffs. Yeah, y'all forgot about that. I'm talking about if you put him back there to punt the ball. I'm probably sure if you had him kick the ball, he could probably do that too because that's what Deebo can do. You're going to have to pay Deebo. And that's what the problem is. And the issues, I'm telling you, bro, when I tell you the front office fumbled the hell out of this situation, usually players fumble, but the front office fumbled this situation. And I'm going to tell you where they fumbled it.
Talk to me about it, bro.
It starts with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
The 49ers had every opportunity when the S hit the fan to walk away from Jimmy Garoppolo, eat that $9 million, get back 18 and a half, and call it a freaking day. And then you extend Deebo the minute you get to 18, and now you won't have to worry about making Deebo guaranteed $75-80 million a year because we would have did it before all the other wide receivers got their contracts. Let me explain to you something, brother. The way the contracts work based off the market. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, I don't got to pay him. He didn't do this. He hasn't proven it in 2 or 3 years." Bro, the market dictates what the players get paid. 5 years ago, we had to pay Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of money because at that time, the market for quarterback was to pay him this. Luckily, we paid him first. And then now the quarterbacks got paid. A la Aaron Rodgers, a la Russell Wilson, a la Kirk Cousins out in Minnesota who got all that guaranteed money. So you got to pay attention to the market. And it's not about the yearly amount of money. Me and my bros, Raj and Smitty, we just finished talking about, it's not about the 28 million, the $30 million a year. Now, that doesn't matter anymore because of Deshaun Watson and his fully guaranteed contract, bro. You got to guarantee money. A player wants guarantees.
Right. So, look, you do make a lot of sense, but let me play devil's advocate, Wayne.
For sure.
Because look, I'm with you. I'm a big Deebo fan, and trust me, I am all about the player getting the bag. Look, ticket prices aren't going down.
Okay.
Beer prices aren't going down.
The
price of a hot dog ain't going down. Parking ain't going down. So somebody's making more money. If somebody's making more money, I'd rather it be the players that I go out there and love watching, that go out there and win the game, so on and so forth, than the ownership that necessarily puts the team. So I'm all about the players. Go out there, demand your money, get the bag. You're not going to be in the league for a long time. You have a very short span to take care of your family for the rest of their life. And so go out there and get the bag. But let me push back. First point, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
Jimmy Garoppolo's money on the books this year doesn't affect what they're able to do as far as an extension for him. In fact, they could extend him and Deebo's cap hit this year would actually go down because they would turn it into a bonus and then it wouldn't affect the cap this year. And Jimmy doesn't have any more money go in the next year. So all that money for the extension wasn't going to affect it. So I don't know necessarily that Jimmy being on the team, that doesn't necessarily affect it. However, Deebo, them waiting to do this now puts them in the situation. Now, point number 2. And this is, let's put ourselves in why the 49ers are hesitating, because they came out and said, yo, we're going to extend Deebo. Deebo is going to be a 49er for a very long time. Now, that means that they had a number in mind that they were willing to pay Deebo. Now, obviously, Deebo, in his mind, has a number that's way far away, I guess, from that number. That's why we're seeing what it is. But should the 49ers buckle and just pay? Let's talk about that, Wayne. So Deebo Samuel has one phenomenal year out of 3, right? And it's a phenomenal year. Like, the numbers he put up last season are some of the best numbers that I've seen a 49er receiver ever put up. I mean, Jerry Rice obviously had the numbers that, you know, the epitome of what a receiver should be, but I was a little bit too young to watch, Jerry Rice get 20 touchdowns in a season and all that kind of stuff. Deebo putting up the numbers he's put up, this has been the year that he's really broken out. Last season, hindered by injuries. His rookie season, you know, he played, I think, in 15 games, but there were some games where he couldn't finish the game, Wayne, because of injury issues, right?
Hamstring. Yep.
Hamstring, right? Deebo plays a very aggressive style of receiver. He's not a finesse receiver by any stretch of the imagination. He's not hiding from that hit. He's going into that hit, through that hit to get that extra yard. So injury woes are something that is something you got to think about, especially when you're about to pay somebody the type of money that Deebo wants. Second thing.
Okay.
Who makes the receiver better? Who would you rather have? Or let me just put it this way. We've seen Tyreek Hill, the Kansas City Chiefs let Tyreek Hill go. We've seen Green Bay Packers let Devontae Adams go. What is the common denominator between those two teams? They have an all-world quarterback that they know can make any receiver into a highly productive receiver. Not maybe Devontae Adams level, not maybe Tyreek Hill level, but you're still going to get a lot of production out of whomever they're throwing the ball to. They have a guy in Trey Lance, which they don't know what they have in Trey Lance quite yet, right? They know that there's flashes there, but they don't know how good Trey Lance is going to be, right? Would you have Deebo under contract right now? Is it I guess unreasonable, Wayne, and I pose this question to you. Is it unreasonable for the 49ers to be like, look, Deebo, we're willing to pay you what you're asking for, but we need to see you do it one more year, stay as healthy as you did last season, and put up similar to numbers or close to the type of numbers that you put up last year, back-to-back consecutive years. And we will give you the contract that you're looking for. 2, that gives them time also to see what Trey Lance is. And if Trey Lance turns into the quarterback that we think he could be or shows glimpses of that, maybe they don't need to be paying a receiver $30 million a year. What do you say about that, Wayne?
See, that hypothetical is almost impossible, because if you told me you was going to pay me on a promise, right? And now not only do I got to go out there and do everything that I did the year before with a different quarterback, with a different scheme, with a different game plan, I also got to find a way to stay healthy as well, just for a promise. Now, if I don't stay healthy, God forbid anything happens, what happens to the promise?
Right.
So you can't. So right. So you can't. You can't. That's a no-go from Deebo's side. Deebo would never. Him and his camp would never agree to something like that. That's why you can expect 3 things to happen, broski.
Let's talk about it.
You can expect Deebo to sit there and be traded on draft day for picks, right? For a first-round pick probably this year and a first-round pick next year, because that's what Deebo is going to be worth. right? So you figure down the 49ers, that might be an option for them because now they can get back into the first round this year in the draft and back into the first round of 2023 because they don't pick into the first round until 2024.
Right.
Because they traded up for what you call it for Trey Lance. So this might be something that they're teetering around with. We also heard John Lynch say the same spiel about keeping a guy like DeForest Buckner on the team for years to come. And come draft day, the Indianapolis Colts made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. And I didn't think the offer was that great, but it was an offer that they didn't want to pay him $25+ million a year, whatever the guarantee was. They didn't want to pay that guaranteed money. So now you got a situation which is similar to that with this. The second scenario for Deebo Samuel is you guys, you got to extend them. You got to find a way to extend them. Why? Because nothing is guaranteed. Not health, not his money. I'm looking at his contract right here. It's $3.96 million on base salary. I think he gets his $904,000 from his signing bonus. That's it. That's it. You're telling me I got to go out there and play for that amount of money and risk injury. His agent will never let him play without an extension.
But here's the thing, Wayne. We know that it was already in the books that they were going to pay him. So let me ask this before I move forward with my point, Wayne. Do you think that the 49ers aren't willing to pay this guy $20+ million a year?
It depends on which plus you're talking about. Is it $22+ million, $25+ million?
Let's say 22 to 24 million.
I think that's the number that the 49ers are looking to pay. You just watched today Brandon Cooks get extended for 2 years, and he's making $20 million a year in his extension each year. Right?
Okay.
So you just watched that.
So we both agree that this isn't about the 49ers just saying, we're not going to extend you, we're not going to pay you. They're just way off where Deebo believes his annual money and probably guaranteed money, like you put it, is, and where the 49ers think that it is. I think we both agree, though. The 49ers are willing to pay him and make him one of the highest paid receivers. He just wants to be paid
the highest,
and not just for receiver, the highest paid player outside of a quarterback, meaning he wants to reset the market for every position based off of what he does.
But think about it. The 49ers would be silly not to jump on this. They should have jumped on this. That's why I said they could have got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. You said that his money doesn't count against the cap, and it still counts a part of that money, and it wouldn't have affected what they could have did with Deebo. But what it could have done is given them more money under the salary cap, and they could have spent money to do whatever they need to do. And so without having that money, now that the cap is set, now that his money is set, that $19.5 million or that $25.5 million won't count against this year's cap. It'll go back into next year's cap, right? So now they'll get another $25.5 million plus the $60 million from TV contract money that is probably going to go up because every team's going to get that. And so the 49ers they're going to have money, but you're telling me I got to play on a promise. That doesn't. If I'm his agent, that doesn't fly right by me because a promise doesn't mean it's guaranteed. That's the same reason why Raheem Mostert was willing to sit out for $5.
Right.
He wanted guaranteed money. It wasn't about him being the highest paid running back. It was about what the 49ers were asking him to do. And everybody thought that was crazy. And then what did he ended up doing? He ran away from everybody. He was ghost until he got injured.
Right. But here's the thing, Wayne. I do agree with that point. I don't think that Deebo should play a year without some kind of contract there. And I don't think the 49ers want him to play with just what he's getting paid right now. I don't think that's even in the 49ers' mind. I mean, I know what you said about DeForest Buckner, Wayne, but let's be honest about this 49ers regime. They've made pretty much every elite player that they've had the highest paid player at their position when it came time to do that. So it's not just like we could harp on the DeForest Buckner thing, but there's also multiple examples. Trent, Kittle, Warner, Juszczyk, they've made all of these players the highest paid player at their position. So it's not that this team is shy about paying players. I know fans just want to remember DeForest Buckner, but there's a lot of players that got paid.
But that's not what I was getting at. What I was getting at was DeForest Buckner was the best defensive player on the team at the time.
Right.
And you didn't pay him.
But they made a choice, right? Because it was Armstead or Buckner.
They took Armstead only because of versatility. Let's keep it a buck. That's what the 49ers like. Armstead can line up inside and outside. So instead of paying him defensive edge top money, you pay him defensive tackle top money, which is what they would have paid Buckner. And guess where they get the line of Armstead? On the outside. So it was a value for the 49ers. You got to look at what they're doing. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people out there that's watching and listening. They look for value in players. Well, if we're going to talk about value in players, broski, who the hell gives you more value than Deebo Samuel? Because he threw a touchdown pass, he ran 8 touchdowns, and he caught 4, 5, 6 touchdowns. Like this is what he do. And if you want to say, oh, he does it because it's off a scheme, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. That his quarterback can't throw the ball down the field and get while he's beating defensive backs in coverage. That's not his fault. We see Deebo run really good routes where he's sitting at the middle and the ball don't even get thrown to him. So that's not his fault. His fault is the quarterback was limited, and that quarterback threw the ball to where he caught it. And then what if Kyle Shanahan for once is going to say he can find another guy that can catch the ball in space and make plays, he's done lost his cotton picking mind. Because Deebo plays with a different swag. That's what he brings to the team. Yes.
And I agree with everything you're saying, Wayne, but it's different when you're saying he's worth more than Trent. He's worth more than Fred.
That's not fair to say that he's not.
But that's what he's saying. He's saying money-wise because he deserves more than Trent.
So money-wise, he is. How is he not, though? You get what I'm saying? Think about what he brings to the team. He's bringing 3, 4, 5 positions in one.
For 1 year, though.
Hold on.
Let's make this point. Let's make this point real quick.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault. That is for 1 year, though.
Well, hold up. Because, hey, we're talking about negotiate power. By the way, I want Deebo to know right now, you should listen to this show and you should hire Mr. Breezy over here to do your contract negotiations because he's making it hard for me to not agree that you deserve all the bag, which I do.
I'll read this comment, man. Shout out to Randy.
Yeah. So Randon says hasn't been, and he's talking about Deebo. Deebo hasn't been as consistent as the other elite wide receivers, Adams, Hills, Diggs.
All right, stop right there. Stop reading it right there, because I'm gonna clap back all the way 100,000%. I got guns. Here we go. Bam. All right. So those guys also played in the year longer than Deebo Samuel, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk about Devontae Adams, because I had to break this down to my Nothing But Niners crew. Devontae Adams in his rookie season had 400 plus yards. His sophomore year, 400 plus yards. Oh, well, he sat behind Jordy Nelson. So the F what? He should have been killing if he sat behind Jordy Nelson, because if Jordy Nelson is getting double teamed, he should be the guy that can beat single coverage, but he couldn't.
Right.
He couldn't get open. And guess who his quarterback was?
Aaron effing Rodgers.
All right, so get that bull crap out of here. Now let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who's no longer nowhere near the top wide receiver getting paid as far as guaranteed money now, because all the contracts. You got Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, now Stephon Diggs, and then maybe Hopkins is right there as far as guaranteed money. I'm not sure. I have to look at the list. Deebo Samuel in his rookie year, because you talked about this, 833 yards, bro. He missed one game, not 2. 1 game his rookie year, battling a nagging hamstring injury. He breaks his foot his sophomore year and also deals with the hamstring injuries after he comes back from the broken foot. We can't fault a guy for breaking his foot. What are we talking about here? I watched Adams. We're talking about Hopkins, who ain't played for shit last year. He missed a whole basic season after week 5. And he's getting paid. And ain't none of their fans complaining over in Arizona.
Right.
Devontae Adams, no fan. The fans are still mad in Green Bay because they couldn't sign him. They wanted to make him the highest paid wide receiver. Devontae Adams has 3 seasons over 1,000 yards. What are we talking about here? Yes, they're great wide receivers. I get it. They might be better at single-handedly a better wide receivers than Deebo, but Deebo has more value. Why are we not talking about the guy's value? He has value, and you got to pay for value. It's not our fault he only did it for 3 years. It's not our fault he averages 866 yards in his first 3 seasons, and now you tell him he got to go out and do it 1 more year? He already proved he can do it. You just got to give him the damn ball. How many people on this broadcast said, damn, if we would have just gave Deebo the ball, we would have won the NFC Championship? How many want to rewind back to the Super Bowl? Damn, if we would have just gave Deebo the ball, we would have won the Super Bowl. He was ready for the ball. We stopped giving it to him. Ask yourself that.
I agree. And Wayne, You're making it really, really hard for me to play devil's advocate,
job,
but I'm gonna keep.
That's my job.
I'm gonna keep doing it. So let's see this point, okay? My mind's blown. First of all, I don't know about this Jimmy stuff, but take the Jimmy out of it, Deebo or Bosa. So here's the thing, Wayne. We know we got a lot of premium talent, okay? Right?
Yes, we
got a lot of premium talent. Everybody can't be the highest paid player.
Contrary
right?
move, Freer. I disagree with that. I disagree with that because of the way the 49ers do contracts. And so if you seem like a contract guy, and look at their contracts. There are a lot of contracts that are backloaded, which means that they're going to get played later on in the years. They take less money up front, they get a bigger signing bonus, and they take less money to hit that cap. So the 49ers could continue paying players over. Now, it may catch up with them, and until it does, oh well. Just like Eric Armstead's contract, he's going to get paid to what, 2027 or something like that? He won't even be under contract in 2027. But the 49ers are going to end up paying dead money. So what my theory is, bro, that the 49ers, 1 year, 2 years from now, going to say, hey, man, let's restructure one more again. You could be a Niner for life, and they'll rework that money right back as the way it is. I guarantee you that's what Parag is doing. And so it's the contracts.
So is there a number that you don't say no to? Is there a number that Deebo is there a number that you're like,
I can't give Deebo $30 million a year.
But that's what he's asking for, because that's what but look, it could be what Hill got, and he wants to be paid higher than Hill.
Again, I gotta see what the guarantee number is. We keep going off of the year number, and my apologies, because that's what we're used to seeing.
Yeah,
it's not about the yearly number anymore.
Okay, so what's the guarantee? If he gets a bigger contract, then
the guarantee has to be it can't be no more than it can't be no more than $75 million.
But Hill got what, 72, 73?
Right, so $75 million. Yeah.
Okay,
but that would make him the highest paid wide receiver.
But remember, Hill's contract becomes fully guaranteed after the second year.
Either way, you're trying to fully guarantee Deebo. You gotta give him higher than that 72.
But are you cool with Deebo getting fully guaranteed 4-year 120?
Yes.
So $30 million a year, you're cool with that?
Me personally, I have to be. I would be. Yeah.
Now let's talk about it if that number's too high. Let's talk about what you said, the other option.
Okay.
So here's the thing that's a little bit different. There's a guy that I'm very high on that's still on the roster. His name is Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Right? And he has – go ahead.
He's going to have a breakout season. And that's going to decline Deebo. But hear me out.
Wait, let me finish. Okay, you over here reading my mind, Wayne. And I hate it because you in here and you already at my throat. All right, let's go.
It, bro.
So Ayuk, they got Ayuk. They got Trey. They could get picks, a lot of picks. We just saw Hill get 5 picks for him. First, seconds, thirds, all these picks, right? Year after year after year, what are we talking about with these receivers? They're getting younger and younger and more impactful, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
There's got to be a number where you say this money can be allocated better amongst my team because I got a stud already that could slide into wide receiver 1. I could go into the draft and maybe get some guys that might not be Deebo, for sure not Deebo, but still be highly productive. Is that an option that they should really think about? Because look, like you said, they could push the money back, or they could use the money to re-sign Bosa, re-sign some other studs that might be coming up, Ayuk, in a couple of years.
See, I think you're missing your great point, but you're missing my point.
Okay.
My point is value, versatility, and any other word that starts with a freaking V. That's what Deebo is, bro. That's what Deebo is. And I don't care about Cali. I see your point, your comment. They did have they had individual success because they've played longer.
Right.
But they got paid before they got paid. Teams paid them. Devontae Adams was once the highest paid wide receiver in the league until he wasn't. It's the market. The market is setting this trend. We can't control the market. So if, like you said, if Tyreek Hill's getting 72, the market is demanding. I tell you right now, if Tyreek Hill's getting 72, guess who's about to get 75?
AJ Brown?
No.
Deebo?
Hell no. Usually, a lot of people don't want to pay Deebo. Cooper Kupp, the number 1 wide receiver in the league.
Right. He's the biggest value right now.
Tyreek Hill is getting 72, you can guarantee Cooper Kupp gonna get 75.
Right.
And then what you gonna pay Deebo? Now you gotta walk away. You're not gonna give Deebo 76, right? Because I capped my number at 75, bro.
So here's my last point, Wayne. Deebo, so before this year, right? Deebo wasn't throwing touchdowns. Before this year, Deebo wasn't rushing for 8 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Before this year, Deebo wasn't having 1,400 yards receiving. Mm-hmm. 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. What's to say that Brandon Ayuk can go and do all of that in 1 year? Because it just happened, right? You're saying the value is right now.
Because it's not in his makeup. That's not Brandon Ayuk's makeup. Brandon Ayuk is a pure wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And if you get him doing other things, it can cause ripples in your game plan. It might work out to your benefit, but Brandon Ayuk doesn't play with the same edge as Deebo Samuel. We've seen it. We watched it. Deebo plays mean bully ball. That ain't Brandon Ayuk, bro. He looking to get not hit. It's a big difference. And that edge sets the tone, bro. Like you remove the versatility from Deebo Samuel, and you take away the edge too. Man, Deebo had Trent Williams playing like a monster.
Yep.
It was a big difference from Trent in 2020 to Trent in 2021. And you could say it was because of the money or what, but his mentality was even different, bro. And so what? He missed 2 games. Ain't nobody crying. He missed a couple of games.
Right.
I don't understand why we get mad at players. It's football.
Right.
Everybody gets injured. 100%.
Right.
And when I had Adrian Colbert on the show, and he told me that they sign injury waivers, I was like, oh shit. Like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't know that they did that. I thought that injuries was covered. Like, you know how we got a job, but we get medical insurance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. And I was like, oh, that's deep, bro.
They could be cut. Like, that's the difference between NBA contracts and NFL contracts. Like, the only thing the NFL players get is that signing bonuses and that guaranteed. Like in the NBA, you could get injured and your contract's fully paid out. But that's why players right now are going after that guaranteed money, because that's the only thing that's guaranteed, right? So if they get injured and the team cuts them, then that full contract doesn't get paid out. That's why like these players, that's why Deshaun Watson goes and gets that guaranteed money. So I'm with you. And Wayne, look, I just had to play devil's advocate because we have to have both sides being argued on here. But I'm with you, man. Like, I'm all about go get the bag. Like, at the end of the day, we got a rookie contract as a quarterback. When in 3 years, when Trey has to be paid $55-60 million a year, when it probably is going to be by then we can't do that. Like, then at that point, Trey has to be good enough to elevate lesser, maybe named players and turn them into superstars, just like Kostrick is doing. That's why Kostrick's the highest paid defensive line coach, is because he could take lesser talent and go give them, get them more productive. And that's what Trey has to be. But until Trey's paid that way, I think you should have Deebo be the highest paid receiver for the next 3 years based off of right now. After 3 years, at that point, have your out in case he's injured, in case his production isn't the way that it needs to be. That's cool. But I think I'm with you. He needs to be paid. He makes this team much better. And you're not going to be able to replace him with any player through the draft or in free agency either.
And that, my friend, is why you got to pay Deebo. I guarantee you Kansas City had no problems paying Tyreek Hill until Patrick Mahomes signed this contract.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill was going to look for more money and guarantees as an extension because he's still consistently putting up money. Think about what we're talking about. We're mentioning these receivers, right? But you said that they consistently did it. And so they're consistently asking for raises, right? Deebo's not asking. This is his first raise. Mm-hmm. But it just so happens to be at that market value. When you eat seafood.
Absolutely, bro.
Okay, you ever go to the seafood place and you order a lobster? Is the price ever on the menu? Does it say MA?
it says seasonal. Like
It says
the prices don't change every single
market price is what it's gonna
right,
say.
exactly.
Market price. So whatever it is right now in this market, if it's $80, you paying $80. You might one day get it for $30, but that's
no negotiations. You can't talk them down.
You better and then what's even crazy on the East Coast, the shrimp be like that too. I'm a shrimp guy. I be like, damn, I eat a shrimp. They gotta be seafood too. What the hell? So I'm just saying that's how it's going on with the market. The market is set now. And I think that's why I said the 49ers fumbled it. So whether you said that they didn't fumble it with Jimmy, I disagree. And then I'm not just talking about as far as money situation. I'm just talking about as far as a standpoint that they're choosing to keep this guy on the roster, and they need to take care of this guy. They need to take care of the player that helped Jimmy G even be where he is right now. Without Deebo, Jimmy ain't Jimmy. He's not that. He's not. I'm not saying he's not good, but he's not even as good as he is without that Deebo, because Deebo saved the 2021 season. We were in the playoffs because of Deebo. There we go.
Now, I love it. Now tell me, obviously Deebo needs to ask for the world. Do you think, based off of the moves that he's made and based off of obviously we can't know, you were just speculating, will he back off of a certain number? Do you think at this point it's too far gone? Because let me put it this way, Wayne.
I hope not, man.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, there's certain things that you do in breakups, right? There's like, okay, you play certain games, you stop talking, silent treatment, you don't respond to a few text messages, you don't call back, you don't return, you let it go straight to voicemail, stuff like that. But when you take everything off the socials, that's different, my dude. That means I'm ready to walk away, and I'm already thinking about walking away. So, is there a path that Deebo could come back? Go ahead.
Then he said that comment to my man Junior Hill Jr. He said that comment to Calvin Hill Jr. about, I want to be the highest paid non-quarterback. Like, not only did you take your stuff off, now this comment comes out from this article, from this story. And
you're talking about it in public. You're talking about it in public.
So now that makes Deebo look like a villain.
I don't know if it makes him look like a villain, but I think it makes it
to the fans.
Okay,
the fans gonna be like, oh, he being greedy now. He gotta act like a little kid. You know what I'm saying?
Kylie Young, Deebo will get paid. I just have a problem with him wanting money now when players who preceded him had to wait until training camp. What do you say to that?
See, the difference between those players and Deebo Samuel, again, Callie, and I understand where you're coming from, and I agree to it to a T. It's more like the market. When Kittle got paid, the market wasn't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for tight ends because there's only two.
Right.
It's Kittle or Travis Kelce. And Kittle got the bag, and then one day later, Travis Kelce got the bag, so we couldn't even celebrate our tight end for being the highest paid. We set the trend. Well, we didn't set the trend for the wide receivers right here, okay? The biggest wide receiver signing in free agency was Christian Kirk. You had to look at his money and see what his guarantees were. And then all the big-time wide receivers started demanding trades and whatnot. Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, and if you can name any other wide receivers. And so I get where Callie's coming from with his point, but the difference between those guys, Fred Warner is saying, there was no other linebackers you were paying other than Darius Leonard. And he got paid more than Fred Warner after we paid Fred Warner. We set the trend again on that market. We set the market for the linebackers. Right. We set the market for the linebackers, bro. Fred got his money.
They saved money off Fred. They saved money because Leonard went and got more money than him.
He got more money. We're not saving money on Deebo now.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We got to spend more to get him.
Here's the thing, Wayne, and he because I think Deebo is thinking about money, right? As he should. And he understands that, look, even if the 49ers pay me first, there's going to be other receivers that come up behind me, DK, AJ, Terry McLaurin. Because like you said, it's all about the market. Whatever your best player is at that position, if you're the next to pay him, you got to pay him more than the last guy that got paid, right?
Well, let's talk about
let me just say this before you go on. Deebo just made it so that he's like, I don't want just a couple million more. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure no matter who gets paid after me, they're not getting paid as much as me. And I think that's where maybe some fans might look at this and be like, maybe we let him go somewhere else, because that mentality, I think, Wayne, can rub people the wrong way, right?
But I don't. It's not our money. Why is it rubbing us the wrong way? I don't get us. I don't get us as a people. I really don't. I don't get it. Like, it's not our money. I don't know if you said before the show or on the show, ticket prices are going to go up. Parking prices go up. The stuff at the stadium is going to go up. Food prices are going to go up. Guys, let's just pay the
Somebody's
players.
Getting paid.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be Deebo than York. That's how I feel. And I mean, I'm with you, man. I think that Deebo should get paid. Here's my point, Wayne, is it's business. Now you got to make a business decision, right?
True.
Is it better to pay the type of money that Deebo wants, keep him there? You know what production you're going to get out of him. You know your team is going to be really, really good, at least offensively, with Deebo on there. However, you got a guy like Ayuk coming up behind. You know that the draft always has, especially in the top 10, you're getting a receiver. You can find receivers there that could go out in year one, make a big impact on your team. At a certain, what's that number?
That's a good.
And I'll ask it again. What's that number where, because we're talking about, the Jets are talking about top 10 pick, right? That's what they were going to give to Tyreek Hill. I bet you they probably give more for Deebo because of what Saleh knows Deebo could do, especially in the system that they run, right? So he has that same value to him. I would even think, Wayne, if Mike McDaniel thought he could get Deebo instead of Tyreek, he'd probably do the same deal for Deebo because of what the value is for the system that they run, right? So there's a lot for Deebo because Shanahan's tree is running the same, that don't have the type of that would look at Deebo the same way the 49ers value. So what's that number where the returning assets could make up for the loss of the play for Deebo to you? Because we got to be realistic about it being a business. Because at the end of the day,
it's a business. I got you. They got other players they got to take. They got other mouths they got to feed. I get it. And at the end of the day, it's got to be best for the company, for the 49ers, for the organization. At the end of the day, It's got to be best for them. That's tough, man, because I think they want Deebo. I think they're willing to pay Deebo. I don't think they can go over paying him. I even think that number at 75 guaranteed is high. I think, but you can do a contract. If the 49ers are the 49ers, like we know the 49ers are, they're going to do some type of incentive-based contract to where he's probably going to get maybe 60 something guaranteed, and he can earn up to 75 million or 80 million, make it even higher. That's a lot. That's a big jump. You can give him like 68 million, whatever, which is right under that 70 number. But you can earn up to like 70 something million if you get 5 rushing touchdowns and whatever. Now, when you do an incentive-based contract, bro, guess who controls the narrative? Well, not that particular. So whatever the difference is between the 68 and the 75 would not be guaranteed. But guess who controls the narrative?
Deebo.
Coach. No.
Oh, coach. Oh, got you.
I watched Bill Belichick do this to Wes Welker, man. Wes Welker had an incentive to where if he got 122 catches, he would have got paid like a few $1 million. And Tom Brady stopped throwing him the ball, bro. And so if you remember that Super Bowl, remember when the ball went through Wes Welker's hands? He did that shit on purpose, bro. I'm telling you, I
love the conspiracy theories. I love it.
Yo, he had an interview and he talked about not doing that on purpose, but he talked about the incentives. The incentives. I'm sorry. He talked about the incentives.
So here's another thing, and I love that. I know we said we were going to get off of it a while back, but we're still on it. And maybe we'll do the whole episode. I won't ask you another question. Here's another thing we got to talk about, right? Bosa's contract's up. Now, look, here's the thing, Wayne. If you let Deebo throw a fit, quote unquote, right? This is what he said. Get off socials, claim I'm not going to play, all this kind of stuff, and you buy and you give into it. What happens what happens to every other stud that you got coming up? Now they set the precedent of how you get your money with the 49ers.
I think we forget that wide receivers are different than every other position in the NFL.
Right.
Their mentality is different.
They tend to be the divas,
they're
right?
the divas, right? Quote unquote. As far as Bosa, that's not his MO. You know what Bosa would do? Not show the fuck up.
Right.
Did y'all forget Bosa held out his rookie year because the language wasn't right on the contract until they got the language right? He didn't show up. Y'all forgot about that. I know I didn't. His brother did the same thing in San Diego before they became the Los Angeles Chargers too.
Right.
They did the same thing. Like they're different. And their makeup is different. Their stuff is all about the language in the contract. And if it ain't right, it ain't right. The thing about Bosa, though, is the 49ers have that 5th-year option on him because he was a first-round pick.
Right.
I don't know what the 5th-year option would be for a Bosa, but it won't be a lot of money.
It's going to be high.
Is it high? Because it was only $11 million for Mike McGlinchey, and he was a first-round pick. I know
but
Bosa was 3.
Was second. He was behind Kyler Murray. McGlinchey was like 13th or 11th or something like that.
That's what I meant. Right. So that so it'll probably be 17 million, if that, probably for 1 year.
If he even plays in that year. But here's my thing. And here's my hot take.
Wayne. I love it. Let's go.
I'm with you. And you know that I love Deebo. You know that I think he should be back. I think Deebo gets traded.
Okay. And
I'm going to tell you why. 49ers can't put up with this. Okay. Let's be honest. They can't. They can't let somebody dictate how much they're going to pay and reset markets and all that kind of stuff with how well they're starting to draft players.
Good point. I like
because here's the point. Like they're drafting studs. When Elijah Mitchell comes up for a contract, now they're gonna let him hold out and take off the socials and say, I want to be the highest paid running back of all time.
They don't pay running backs.
When Brandon Ayuk, they don't pay receivers, bro. This is the first time that they're going to have to pay a receiver.
They haven't had a receiver. They didn't. When Bill Walsh and George Seifert had Jerry Rice, they paid him every year until he got old.
Right, but they've also never had to pay a receiver, is what you just said. Right? So
no, they had to pay Jerry Rice. He got
49ers have made it to a Super Bowl, and I'm talking about this regime.
Oh, you're talking about this regime?
Because we can't talk about past regime. We gotta only talk about this regime.
But you can't talk about past receivers because
past regimes. But this regime has a different thought process, right?
Understood.
They paid defensive ends, they paid linebackers, they paid tight ends. They haven't paid a receiver, right? And they haven't needed to pay a receiver because look at it. They've in the last 3 years, they've been to 2 NFC Championships games. They've been to a Super Bowl. They got another stud on their team that they just drafted named Brandon Ayuk that's still under a team He has that 5th year too, right? They got a guy like Juwan Jennings that they really like. So, Shanahan thinks he knows how to pick receivers, right? So he thinks if he gets a first-round pick, he thinks, I don't know if it's true, but in his mind, he thinks that he can find the next. Yeah, absolutely. We all know that, hey, it's a crapshoot. But I think Kyle Shanahan thinks he's the wide receiver whisperer, right? He could pick wide receivers and get that. We're seeing a Jamar Chase come out and do that. We just saw Justin Jefferson come out and do that. We've seen if you get the right rookie wide receiver, he could make an impact right away. I think that they can't. I think that when Deebo took everything off the socials, went public with the whole I need to be paid higher than any other non-quarterback, I think that's nail in the coffin. I think Deebo already knows.
I got you.
In that negotiation, it was already said we're gonna shop you now. I think that's what happened.
I'm not.
And it scares me. It scares me.
I'm not going to argue with it, bro, because deep down in my mind, bro, in my heart, I feel like that's an option that can happen. And that option is probably like at a 60% right now.
Yeah.
It's at a 60% because, like you said, why would they pay him if they can find something else? If Kyle Shanahan believes that he's a scheme guy, he can grab a Khalil Shakir or a Calvin Austin Jr. that can come in here and do some of that stuff, then why not draft a guy? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's a possibility that you're right, and I'm not gonna argue against that hot take because if you're right, I'm gonna be like, you said it, and I believed it 60% worth of it. That's crazy that I believe that takes 60%.
My thing is, bro, when you break up with your girl and you take her off your socials, there ain't no coming back from that, bro. How do you talk your way back into that situation? That's how I'm thinking. It's like, yo, if I take my girls off the socials, I say, yo, I'm single.
Mhm.
I ain't got no girl no more, right? And then I'm trying to be back with that girl. She gotta be. Maybe this might be a little too raw for YouTube or whatever, but she gotta have very low confidence to take me back after that.
Or you could have just had some really good. Yeah, we'll say that for after dark. Yeah, you know what I mean. Either way, it works.